You were told the pyramids were built by ancient Egyptians over 4,500 years ago. You were told the pharaohs decreed they be constructed as monuments to their greatness. A towering reminder of their godhood, the pyramids were filled with treasure, ensuring the pharaohs' safe passage into the afterlife. At least that's what you were told. You were expected to believe that ancient people, using only simple tools like wooden mallets and stone chisels, shaped over 2 million stone blocks. And you were expected to believe they moved those 2 million stone blocks with wooden ramps and sledges, and laid them in precise alignment with Orion's belt. 4,500 years ago, without the help of any advanced instruments. But you don't believe that, do you? Contrary to what the Egyptologists of yesteryear told us, modern archaeologists believe the pyramids are much older than originally thought. They believe the size and precision of their engineering would require much more sophisticated technology than previously assumed. And they believe the symbolism in their construction holds much larger significance than once believed. They believe the pyramids were part of a massive, complex system, built by the Anunnaki after the Great Flood, built as a grand monument to the new cosmic order in place after the cleansing of the world, built by the Anunnaki as a symbol of their divine authority on Earth, built as a navigational beacon to guide incoming spacecraft, built as a territorial marker after a violent war that broke the ancient world in two. And most importantly, the Great Pyramid was built to be the eternal prison of the being who created that war, a being whose desire to rule destroyed the greatest empire ever known, a being whose lust for power was so great, he orchestrated the end of the world. He wouldn't stop until the entire population of Earth bowed to him. He wouldn't stop until all on Earth and all across the cosmos shuddered in fear at the sound of his name. Marduk, firstborn of Enki. But to understand what drove Marduk to such destructive lengths, we must go back. We must travel back 450,000 years to the blood rivalries that led the Anunnaki to Earth in the first place. We must travel back to Nibiru. 445,000 years ago, beings known as the Anunnaki came from another world to Earth in search of gold. When they discovered a primitive race of upright walking apes, they genetically engineered them into a race of obedient laborers. That race of laborers was us. The Anunnaki's greed, lust, and arrogance drove them to procreate with human women, creating a race of violent giants, referred to in the Bible as the Nephilim. To battle the Nephilim, the Anunnaki taught the human race the art of metallurgy and magic. The passing of forbidden knowledge to humans divided the Anunnaki overlords and led to a civil war. This conflict sparked a nuclear war and a catastrophic deluge that almost wiped out all life on Earth. The destruction of these pre-Diluvian civilizations meant most of the records of the Anunnaki and the creation of humankind were lost. What little we know has been pieced together from fragments of ancient texts, the Bible, and archaeological discoveries across the last few centuries. It's time for the truth to be revealed. This is the story of the Anunnaki. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Viewers of this channel undoubtedly recognize the name King Anu. He was the Nibiruan king who sent his two sons, Enki and Enlil, on a mission to Earth to mine gold. But Anu wasn't always the almighty ruler of the cosmos. Before him, an even more fearsome ruler sat on the throne of Nibiru. His name was Alalu. Alalu's reign was unquestionable because he had possession of the most powerful object known to the Anunnaki. Alalu ruled with the power of the Tablets of Destinies. These tablets were made from an indestructible green metal and foretold the entire cycle of the cosmos. All of the cycles of space and time were known to Alalu. He used his privileged knowledge to formulate strategies to defeat other worlds in battle. The galactic wars that play out in the ancient Sumerian tablets illustrate Alalu's unstoppable conquest. But Nibiru was divided. Because Alalu was not descended from royal blood, rather, he was the son of a concubine who won the throne in a bloody battle. The Anunnaki elders met in secret. They vowed that Alalu must be removed as the king of Nibiru. And this is where Anu, who was of royal blood, devised his scheme. Anu held a meeting with Alalu's grandson, Zu, in secret. Zu was known as He Who Knows the Heavens because his knowledge of the stars and planets was unrivaled. Anu realized that Zu's knowledge could only come from one place. Anu realized that Zu had been studying the tablets of destinies, and that meant Zu knew where the tablets were kept. Anu made a tempting offer to Zu. If Zu agreed to steal the tablets of destinies from his grandfather King Alalu, Anu would protect him. Anu would become king, banish Alalu, and Zu would keep the tablets for himself. There was nothing Zu wanted more than to obtain all the knowledge held in the tablets, so he agreed to Anu's plan. Zu snuck Anu into Alalu's chamber, disguised as his cupbearer. While Zu went to steal the tablets, Anu attacked Alalu. The two of them fought until Alalu bowed before Anu and begged for his life. Anu agreed to spare Alalu's life on the condition that he and his followers, called the Igigi, left Nibiru and never returned. Alalu took the Igigi and fled Nibiru, and Anu took the throne. Anu was surprised that Alalu didn't put up more of a fight, but Alalu had seen something in the tablets of destinies. Alalu knew that Nibiru's time was running out. The tablets showed Alalu that Nibiru follows a tilted and elliptical orbit. As its orbit takes it further away from the sun, life on Nibiru would face a slow death. Alalu tried to create a protective atmosphere around Nibiru by dropping powerful weapons into the volcanoes across the world. These weapons were originally made for war and were called weapons of terror because everything they touched turned to dust. But dropping the weapons of terror into the volcanoes only temporarily sustained Nibiru's atmosphere. Hoping to find salvation out in the stars, Alalu ordered his scientists to send satellite probes in search of a new home. The probes found one planet that could sustain Nibiruan life. That planet was Earth. Once on Earth, Alalu marveled at the virgin planet, its fertile soil, vast oceans, and lush vegetation. But what Alalu discovered next would create a chain of events that led to the birth of the human race as we know it. Alalu and the Igigi established Eridu, their station on Earth. They began to explore and scan the planet for gold. Alalu and the Igigi found gold beneath the surface, as well as in the waters and marshes. Gold was more than just a precious metal on Nibiru. It was a natural resource the Anunnaki used to power the infrastructure on Nibiru. Gold was used to clean their water, power their ships, and soon they would need it to stabilize their protective atmosphere, which was sustained by volcanic activity. Gold on Nibiru was a limited resource, and once it ran out, all life on the planet would die. Alalu saw this discovery as his opportunity to reclaim the throne. He would not only be the king again, but he would be the savior of all living things on Nibiru. Alalu ordered his grandson, Kumarbi, to travel back home and tell King Anu about the gold they had found. When Kumarbi arrived on Nibiru, he shared his message with King Anu, and King Anu appointed him as his royal cupbearer. This gesture was made as a symbol of reconciliation between the two kings. Anu decided to send his two sons, the half-brothers Enki and Enlil, on a mission to Earth. They were to confirm whether or not Alalu's claims were true, but they were, in secret, given another mission. King Anu told his sons when they arrived on Earth to separate. Enlil would take 50 workers with him and meet with Alalu, while Enki would take his 50 workers to the other side of the world. And if there was gold, Enki was to begin mining it without Alalu's knowledge or consent. Enlil would act like he was the only one there, and that Anu would peacefully give up the throne if Alalu came back to save Nibiru. Enlil was guided to a safe landing by Alalu, while Enki crash-landed in the area known today as the Persian Gulf. King Anu sat and waited for Alalu to return and deliver the gold. But on Earth, not everything was going as planned. The Igigi and the Anunnaki were too few in number. The workforce was divided, some building spaceports, some growing food supplies, and only a handful left to mine the gold. The gold they extracted was too small and insufficient for Nibiru's needs. Enlil sent word to Anu, requesting more time to collect a larger amount of gold. Tired of the hard labor and bitter from being exiled to an alien planet, the Igigi rebelled. There was a violent clash between the Nibiruans and the Igigi. Ninurta, Enlil's son, defeated Anzu, the Igigi leader, and was honored as a hero. But the conflict left the Anunnaki with even fewer laborers, and a food shortage created unrest among the workers that remained. Alalu decided they would return home to Nibiru, taking with them the small amounts of gold they had unearthed. Alalu granted Enlil stewardship of Earth until his grandson Kumarbi arrived. Kumarbi, Alalu decreed, would be the new ruler of Earth. But Alalu didn't know he was walking into a trap. When Alalu arrived back on Nibiru, he was greeted by all the firstborn and all of royal blood lineage. They stood and watched as Anu challenged Alalu to a fight to determine who the true king of Nibiru was. The fight was bloody and long, but in the end, Anu was the victor. Anu had Alalu arrested and sentenced him to be imprisoned on Mars for all eternity. Then Anu sent word to his sons back on Earth. Enlil was to be the king of Earth. This angered Enki, who, as Anu's firstborn, had birthright to the throne. Then Anu ordered Enlil and Enki to work together to mine the gold and save their homeworld. And while they waited for more Anunnaki workers to arrive, Enki began to explore planet Earth and conduct experiments on the wildlife he found there. Enki discovered a race of upright walking apes, primitive creatures who survived by hunting prey with simple stone tools. Enki proposed creating a primitive worker race by combining the life essence of the Anunnaki with these wild, humanoid creatures. Enlil initially opposed the idea, stating that only the creator of all has the power to create new beings. Enki argued they were merely enhancing a being that already existed. They weren't intruding into the work of the creator, simply altering life they found. Enlil felt it was wrong, but he knew the need for gold was great, so he let Enki begin his experiments. Enki began experimenting with the creatures, failing several times before successfully creating a male primitive worker using in vitro fertilization of an Anunnaki female womb. The prototype worker was named Adamu. Enki then created a female earthling called Tiamat using the same process. Under Enlil's orders, Adamu and Tiamat were to be made sterile, but Enki deceived his brother and gave Adamu and Tiamat the ability to procreate, and he placed them in a land called Eden to roam free. Soon after, the replacement Anunnaki workers arrived, and the sons of Anu began a more structured mission to mine the gold from the earth. But in secret, Kumarbi had snuck on board the ship bringing the Anunnaki to Earth. He came to reclaim his throne from Enlil and avenge his father's imprisonment. Kumarbi kept himself hidden from Enki and Enlil, and began to poison the workers' minds against them. Kumarbi convinced the workers that he was the rightful ruler of Earth, and this led to another revolt before the mining operation could get started. The conflict was violent, with losses of Anunnaki life on both sides. Enlil, a master of strategy, lured Kumarbi and his soldiers into a trap. Enlil's army rained firestones down upon Kumarbi until he was destroyed. Even though the battle had been won, there were great costs. The battle-ravaged Anunnaki were too few in numbers to continue the mining operation, and the seeds for future conflicts between the descendants of Anu and Alalu had been sown. Enlil proclaimed the mission for gold was inevitably going to fail. That is when Enki revealed his works. Enki had secretly allowed the humans, Adamu and Tiamat, to reproduce. Enki told Enlil he planned for the humans to serve them as a self-reproducing labor force. They would continue to procreate and take on more and more of the Anunnaki's tasks. Even though Enlil was against the creation of the humans, he knew Nibiru desperately needed the gold. He agreed, and Enki used a device called the creation chamber to expedite the gestation process of the Homo sapiens. Enlil organized a plan that included establishing various specialized cities in Mesopotamia for functions related to the gold extraction and processing mission. The operation was vast, involving not just those on Earth but also a team of 300 astronauts in orbit, coordinating the transportation of gold back to Nibiru. The plan worked. Over the course of thousands of years, Nibiru's atmosphere stabilized and the climate mellowed. But as life on Nibiru went back to normal, life on Earth was about to change radically forever. Initially ordered to remain separate, the Anunnaki and the humans began to cohabitate. The Anunnaki workers, light years away from their families, lusted after the beautiful human women. Enlil forbade any relations between the Anunnaki and the humans. The Anunnaki workers couldn't resist the temptation. The Anunnaki laid with the human women, and the human women bore their hybrid children. This interbreeding went on for generations. As more and more hybrid children were being born, Enki noticed some of these offspring were exceptional. Enki took these exceptional Anunnaki human hybrids under his apprenticeship, and together they built the city of Atlantis. If you're interested in a more in-depth exploration into the creation of Atlantis, please check the video I made about it. Link in the description. As Atlantis flourished and the Anunnaki and humans continued to multiply, The first kingdoms on Earth were established. All throughout Mesopotamia and northern Africa, Anunnaki human hybrids were crowned as the first kings and queens of Earth, while the 300 pure-blood Anunnaki, who came from Nibiru, rested and led lives of indulgence and leisure. This enraged Enlil. He took it not only as an affront to his divine rulership, but also as blasphemy against the one true creator of all. Enlil decided humanity must be destroyed. Enlil sought out Enki to task him with creating a great flood to wipe out the Earthlings. But when Enlil discovered what Enki had been building behind his back, he knew matters were much worse than he thought. Enlil found Enki seated on a crystal throne atop a tower so tall, it was called the house which like a mountain is. The tower, the tallest on Earth, rose out of the center of Enki's own megalopolis, the golden city of Atlantis. Enlil couldn't believe his eyes. While the Anunnaki toiled to mine enough gold to sustain Nibiru's atmosphere, his own brother had hoarded the world's gold to make a monument to his own hubris. Enlil knew then and there that Atlantis had to be destroyed. Enlil stood before the great golden gates of Atlantis and demanded his brother come out to meet him. Enki descended from his tower in what was described in the ancient tablets as a throne with flaming wings. Enlil condemned Atlantis as an abomination against the creator of all, and accused Enki of trying to steal his kingship of Earth. Enki told Enlil he had no interest in the crown. Rather, he wanted only to bring out the full potential of planet Earth and the Earthlings. Enlil cursed Enki and his golden city and left to send communication to the Anunnaki High Council about what he had discovered. Enki went back behind the city's walls and got back to work. Back on Nibiru, the animosity between Anu and the descendants of Alalu had caused much unrest. This rivalry continually erupted into physical conflicts, and at the center of these battles was always Marduk, the firstborn of Enki. Marduk was notoriously violent and aggressive, especially after his uncle was named King of Earth instead of his father. Enki was the firstborn of Anu. The Nibiruans greatly valued succession through the firstborn heir. Enlil being king brought great shame to Marduk and cast doubt about his own right to the throne. To prove himself, Marduk was merciless against those who opposed his grandfather's claim to the throne. When King Anu received Enlil's message about Enki's transgressions and the golden city he built on Earth, he couldn't believe it was true. King Anu called Enki's wife, Ninki, to his court. He commanded her to take Marduk and travel to Earth to confirm if Enlil's message was true. Ninlil, Enlil's wife, protested, claiming that Ninki would lie to protect her husband, and therefore couldn't be trusted to deliver a reliable account of what was actually happening on Earth. King Anu decided both clans would travel to Earth. They would discover the truth, and if Enki had committed the traitorous acts that Enlil claimed, the clans were to bring Enki back to be tried before the High Council. The clans traveled to Earth in 2 separate ships and landed safely in the land that would one day be called Jericho. Enlil greeted his clan and then greeted Enki's, all of whom bowed before Enlil, all except Marduk. Enlil chastised Marduk for his blatantly disrespectful act. Marduk cursed Enlil and his bloodline with fire in his eyes. Ninurta, Enlil's son and the warrior who defeated the Agigi rebels, challenged Marduk to a battle. Ninurta proposed they see who had the mightier bloodline. Marduk charged at Ninurta, but Ninurta evaded. Marduk grabbed him, but Ninurta broke free effortlessly. After several moves, Marduk began to tire, and Ninurta threw him on the ground and stood on top of him. Ninurta was proclaimed the champion, and Marduk admitted defeat, bowing down before Enlil. But Marduk knew the fight had only just begun. Enlil, Ninki, Marduk, and Enki's clan flew in Enlil's ship to Atlantis. Ninki had wished it wasn't true, but she couldn't deny what her eyes beheld. Marduk felt proud, seeing the great empire his father was capable of building. Enlil's ship landed in the ocean, where the passengers boarded a golden ship that moved without sails or rowers through the canals of Atlantis. The ship docked at the base of Enki's great tower, where Enki stood with his 2 Earth wives and his 2 Earth children, Adapa and Titi. Marduk didn't recognize his father. He had a long white beard and looked now like an old man. Marduk looked at his father's new family. Small and weak, the Earthlings looked strange to him. Ninki begged Enki to justify his actions on Earth. Enki explained. He saw Earth as a chance for the Anunnaki to start over, free from the hate and the blood feuds. He felt compassion for the humans he created. He was, after all, their father. and he saw it as his mission to guide the human race into being the new beacon of hope in the cosmos. Enki sought to make humanity live up to the ideals taught by the Nibiruan priesthood and oracles. The Earthlings, according to Enki, were destined to inherit the stars. Enlil condemned Enki's plan as hubris, nothing more than the delusions of someone playing God. Then he turned his back on Enki, proclaiming him a traitor to his own kind. And then he left the tower. Marduk saw his mother embrace his father, forgiving him without a second thought. Marduk was disgusted by the weakness in his father's heart. Marduk believed that these earthling creatures were meant to serve their Anunnaki masters, not become masters themselves. But Marduk didn't say this. He kept his thoughts private. He realized that his father was not the king he thought he was, and he realized that if he wanted to sit on the throne of Nibiru, he would have to take it. Marduk left Atlantis and took one of his father's golden ships and traveled until he reached Mesopotamia. Marduk heard humans were kings and queens in that place. He crafted a plan to bring the highest of humanity down, showing his father how weak the earthlings really were. Marduk appeared before the king of the land in the middle of the night, calling himself Ra and displaying wings of flame. Marduk claimed the land belonged to him, that it had always belonged to him, and that land was called Babel, which meant gateway of the gods. The king and his people bowed before their new god Ra, and Marduk, as Ra, shared much forbidden knowledge and Anunnaki technology with his new subjects. He built walls around Babel and constructed a water system. Marduk taught the Babylonians powerful dark magic spells. He corrupted their minds with greed and lust. Marduk filled their minds with visions of a magnificent kingdom, grander in scale than his father's kingdom of Atlantis. This new kingdom was to be a testament to the power and greatness of humankind. And in the center of Babel, they would build a tower, taller than Enki's tower in Atlantis. A tower that would pierce the heavens. For 350 years, Marduk fanned the flames of chaos. He taught the humans curses, claiming they were spells for bringing wealth and happiness. He punished weakness and rewarded cruelty. He taught his people hateful chants and poisoned their thoughts. Soon, Marduk's hate manifested in the birth of violent and deformed beings. The earthlings in Babel gave birth to giants. These giants are represented symbolically in the Bible by the appearance of the Nephilim. Marduk fostered the birth of more and more of these monstrous giants. All the while, Marduk's subjects built the tower, taller and taller. The people of Babel suffered as the soil turned sour and no longer bore crops. The waters in the rivers ran black and stunk of death, and clouds of smoke from atop Marduk's tower blocked out the sun's warmth. One clan of Babylonians fled and wandered through the desert and the wilderness, seeking salvation. They were on the verge of starvation when they came upon a being dressed in gold robes and carrying a golden staff. This being made water out of the sand and told the Babylonians to drink. He summoned cattle to them and told them to slay and prepare the cattle to be eaten. He made a great tent appear out of the air and gave them shelter. He told them that he was a priest from the kingdom of Atlantis, and he was called Thoth. Thoth asked the earthlings where they came from, and they told him of their lord Ra and the horrors happening in Babel. Thoth guided the Babylonians through the desert, leaving them in the place that is now called Egypt. Thoth traveled to Atlantis, where he told Enki about the acts of Ra. The two went to the land of Babel and saw the chaos for themselves. The land was burning. The cities were overcome with violence and terror, all of it dwarfed by a massive tower pushing through the clouds. It was a dizzying spiral of stone built by earthlings enslaved by their own appetites. Enki and Thoth witnessed the people of Babel screaming, as bloodthirsty giants ravaged their homes and devoured their young. Enki collapsed. He never imagined his own creations were capable of such evil. Sensing he was dealing with powers beyond what he could handle, Enki called for a meeting of all the prominent Anunnaki. Enlil, Ninurta, Ninlil, Ninki, and Enki's children, along with Thoth and Alalu's grandson Zu, met in Atlantis. The meeting of the Anunnaki began with a reconciliation between the half-brothers Enki and Enlil. Then Thoth and Zu went over the Tablet of Destinies, searching for clues as to what was to come. After a long time, Enlil proposed using one of Alalu's weapons of terror. Thoth agreed, saying it was the only way to bring down the Tower of Babel. Knowing that everything the weapon touched turned to dust, Thoth led those in Babel that could be saved to Egypt. Ninurta loaded the weapon onto his spacecraft and left the Earth's atmosphere to reach a high enough altitude. He dropped the weapon onto Babel and the whole world shook. The ancient Sumerian tablets describe an evil wind that swirled and choked the life out of every living being in Babel. In the ruined Earth, the only thing left standing was Marduk. Enki approached his son. He demanded answers. Marduk explained. He showed Enki what evils his humans were capable of. He showed Enki how easily manipulated humans are. And he showed the consequences of the Anunnaki interbreeding with the humans. Enki captured Marduk, binding him with chains. Marduk was taken back to Nibiru to be tried by the Anunnaki High Council. Marduk justified his actions, claiming that Anunnaki were destined to rule. He asserted that his father's actions were born of weakness, not the acts of a royal-born Anunnaki. The council deemed Marduk's actions as the cause of widespread chaos and darkness, but agreed that Enki was partly to blame. Anu ruled that Enki must destroy Atlantis, cast it to the bottom of the ocean, and cleanse the world with a great flood. He entrusted Enlil to oversee that this would happen. Then Anu decreed that Marduk must be taken back to Earth and buried beneath a great structure. This structure would be a symbol to guide the humans. It would serve as a reminder of the darkness they are capable of, but also as a reminder of the great things they can accomplish when they follow the path of light. Thoth named the refugees from Babel his people, and led them in constructing the pyramids. The intricate design and profound symbolism would remind the Earthlings of the divine presence on Earth, always reminding them that even if the Anunnaki aren't directly influencing matters on Earth, they are the ones responsible for humanity's existence. Thus, Marduk was laid down in Egypt, placed inside the king's chamber in the Great Pyramid and sealed behind limestone blocks, left to die without food or water. Enki created the Great Flood like Enlil wanted, and the earth was cleansed of the evil created by Marduk, the Nephilim, the weapon of terror and the black magic of Babel. Enki agreed to keep the human population under control and relegated to Egypt, but as viewers of this channel know, Enki had plans of his own. The world at the dawn of humankind was broken. Earth's greatest empire was lost, and from the ruins of ancient blood rivalries, the human race began to rebuild. And as for Marduk, scholars of the pyramids of Egypt know that the limestone blocks within the king's chamber were found broken, bored through by some instrument unknown to the ancient Egyptians. And all of this laid the groundwork for humanity's next great battle, the Pyramid Wars. We'll explore that and more next time. Please leave any theories or insights you have in the comments below and share what you'd like me to explore in future videos. Until then, keep your eyes and mind open. Thanks for watching. Because the powers that be want to suppress free thinkers at all costs, they will censor me for exposing the systems of manipulation at work. If you want to stay informed and learn the secret knowledge of all ages, please subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. That way we can keep in touch even if they try to deplatform me. Thanks again.